Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany. Welcome to Randomness, where we talk about a little bit of everything, the deep, the weird, and the real. So take a breath, open your mind, and let's get into it. All right, guys, today we are talking about something that honestly sounds like science fiction, but it's a genuine belief in certain spiritual communities. We're diving into walk-ins and soul exchanges. So here's the concept in its simplest form. A soul can voluntarily leave a body, and another soul can walk in and take over that body, continuing the life where the previous soul left off. I know, super wild, right? So, regardless of whether you think this is literal truth or metaphor for profound transformation or whatever it may be, the concept itself is super fascinating and the stories are compelling. So let's explore this, okay? So the term walk-in was popularized by author Ruth Montgomery in her 1979 book, Strangers Among Us. She described walk-ins as highly evolved souls who agree to take over the body of someone who wants to leave, but doesn't want to die by suicide or leave their loved ones devastated. So this is how it's supposed to work, okay? There is a soul currently living in a body, and for whatever reason, maybe they're exhausted, maybe they've completed their life purpose, maybe they're just done, they want to exit. At the same time, there's another soul that needs to incarnate on Earth, but doesn't want to go through the whole childhood thing again. They need to get here fast, maybe to complete a mission or help with some global shift. So these two souls make an agreement. The original soul leaves, the new soul walks in, and they swap places. The body continues living, but there's a different consciousness operating it now. Again, I know this sounds pretty wild, but these are genuine categories within this belief system. So people who believe in walk-ins say there are telltale signs. So let's go through them. Dramatic personality changes after a near-death experience or crisis. Like not just I have a new perspective on life, but I'm literally a different person now. Different mannerisms, different speech patterns, different energy entirely. Loss of emotional connection to their past. So a walk-in might look at photos from their childhood and feel nothing. They might not recognize close friends or family emotionally, even though they intellectually remember them. New talents or abilities that seem to come from nowhere. Suddenly they're speaking a language that they never learned, having skills they never developed, knowing things they couldn't possibly know. Strong sense of mission or purpose that wasn't there before. A lot of walk-ins supposedly come in with a specific job to do, often related to helping humanity or the planet, feeling like they don't belong in their own life. Everything feels slightly off or foreign, like they're living someone else's life because, well, according to this theory, they are, Physical changes. Some people report that walk-ins even change physically, different handwriting, different food preferences, different health conditions appearing or disappearing. Memories that don't match their timeline. So remembering things from other lifetimes or other places that bleed through. Sudden spiritual awakening or psychic abilities. The new soul might have different gifts that manifest right away. Okay, and there are some people who have publicly claimed to be walk-ins or been identified by others as such. So, Richard Alpert experienced a profound transformation that some spiritual teachers suggested might have been a walk-in after his stroke in 1997. And Eckhart Tolle describes a dramatic shift in consciousness where his old identity dissolved. He doesn't call it a walk-in, but some people in spiritual communities have speculated. Various spiritual teachers and channelers have claimed to be walk-ins, saying they came in specifically to teach or help with humanity's evolution. But let me be clear, most of these people have never confirmed this themselves, and it's often others projecting this interpretation onto their transformation stories. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. Most people think this is complete bullshit. And I mean, yeah, there's good reason for that. There is zero scientific evidence. You can't measure or prove a soul exchange. It's entirely subjective experience. It could easily be explained by psychology. Dissociative identity disorder, PTSD, brain injury, or profound psychological transformation could account for all the signs of a walk-in. Memory is unreliable. After trauma, people's memories and sense of self can genuinely change. And that doesn't mean a different soul moved in. It means the brain rewired itself. And you can't prove it's not happening, which makes it a problematic concept scientifically. It could be a way to avoid accountability. That wasn't me. That was the previous soul. That's a convenient excuse for past behavior. And the whole concept relies on believing in souls, reincarnation, and consciousness existing separately from the body, which are themselves unprovable spiritual beliefs, not established facts. All of that is fair. If you're a skeptic, these are valid points. But here's another way to think about this, okay? What if walk-ins aren't literal, but are a metaphor for profound transformation? I mean, we've all heard people say things like, I died and was reborn after a major life experience. Cancer survivors talk about their old self dying. People who get sober sometimes say they're a completely different person now. Maybe the walk-in concept is just spiritual language for the very real experience of ego death, profound transformation, or fundamental identity shifts that can happen through trauma, spiritual experiences, or healing. Now, in that frame, it doesn't matter if it's literally a different soul. What matters is that the experience of becoming a different version of yourself is so profound that it feels like you're not even the same being anymore. And honestly, that happens to people. We've all known someone who went through something massive and came back changed in a way that's hard to explain. Okay, so now I want to share some accounts from people who claim to have experienced this, because regardless of whether it's literal or metaphorical, these stories are powerful. So one woman described being in a severe car accident. She was in a coma for days, and when she woke up, she said she felt like she was wearing someone else's body. She had all the memories of her life, but they felt like watching a movie about someone else. Her handwriting changed, her food preferences flipped completely. Her family said her energy was totally different, warmer, more open. She said she felt like she came into this body with a mission to help others heal from trauma. And then there was a man who talked about hitting rock bottom with addiction. He described a moment of complete surrender where he felt his consciousness leave his body. And when he came back, he was different, not just sober, fundamentally different. He said the person who was addicted wasn't him, and he couldn't explain how he knew that, but he knew it in his bones. And the last person that I'm going to talk about described an awakening so intense that they felt their entire identity dissolve. And when they came back, they said it felt like someone else had moved into their body. They had access to all their memories, but no emotional attachment to them. Now, whether these are literal soul exchanges or profound psychological and spiritual transformations, the experience is real to these people, and that's worth taking seriously, even if we're skeptical about the mechanism. And one interesting aspect of walk-in theory is that walk-in souls come in with a specific purpose, and it's often related to helping humanity. The idea is that we're in a time of massive global shift, okay? Consciousness is evolving, the planet is in crisis, and we need all hands on deck. Some souls supposedly volunteer to walk in specifically to help with this transition because they have skills or wisdom that is needed right now. Walk-ins are often described as having advanced spiritual knowledge, healing abilities, or a strong drive to teach, create, or serve in some way. And they feel a sense of urgency about their mission. And I find this interesting because it mirrors a lot of starseed and light worker concepts. The idea that certain souls incarnate specifically to help during pivotal times in human evolution. And whether that's literal or just the way spiritually oriented people make sense of feeling called to service, it's a compelling narrative. And a lot of people, they talk about the shadow side of walk-in belief. Like it could be used to avoid dealing with your past. The whole "that wasn't me, that was a previous soul" could become a way to escape accountability for harmful behavior or difficult memories. It can create identity confusion. If you start wondering whether you are a walk-in, it can destabilize your sense of self in unhelpful ways. It can romanticize trauma. Making trauma into like a mystical soul exchange might prevent someone from getting proper psychological help for PTSD or dissociation or whatever it may be. Also, they're saying it could be used to manipulate people, like cult leaders or manipulative spiritual teachers might tell vulnerable people they are walk-ins to control or confuse them. But like any spiritual concept, walk-ins can be understood in healthy or unhealthy ways. Context and discernment matter. If you are resonating with this concept and wondering if you might be a walk-in, here are some questions people in this community suggest asking yourself. Do you have a clear before and after moment where your sense of self fundamentally shifted? Do you feel emotionally disconnected from your past, like you're reading someone else's biography? Do you have a strong sense of mission or purpose that feels urgent and came on suddenly? Do you have knowledge, abilities, or wisdom that you can't explain based on your life experiences? Do you feel like you don't fully belong here, like you came from somewhere else? Have people in your life commented that you seem like a completely different person? Do you have memories or dreams of other places, times, or realities that feel as real as your current life? But you also have to consider, could this be explained by trauma, spiritual awakening, personal growth, or psychological factors, But different spiritual traditions have different takes on this. Like some Buddhist teachers might frame this in terms of the illusion of a permanent self. We're all constantly dying and being reborn in each moment. So in a sense, we're always walking in to who we're becoming. And some New Age teachers embrace the walk-in concept fully, seeing it as part of the evolution of consciousness and soul agreements. Psychological approaches would probably frame this as ego death, identity shifts, or post-traumatic growth rather than literal soul exchange. So, there's no consensus even within spiritual communities. What though? I think profound transformation is real. I think people can change so dramatically that they genuinely feel like different people. I think consciousness is mysterious and we do not understand it fully. Whether that's literally different souls or whether it's the human capacity for radical change and reinvention, I don't know. And I'm not even sure it really matters. What matters is honoring people's experiences, taking their transformations seriously and recognizing that sometimes life breaks us open so completely that we are fundamentally altered. If the walk-in framework helps someone make sense of their transformation and live with purpose, great. If someone else prefers to think of it as personal evolution or psychological healing, also great. The experience of becoming someone new is valid, regardless of the metaphysical explanation we attach to it. So walk-ins and soul exchanges are one of those spiritual concepts that sits right at the edge of what we can know or prove. They challenge our understanding of identity, consciousness, and what it means to be a person. Whether you believe in literal soul exchanges, see it as a metaphor for transformation, or think it's just complete bullshit, the concept points to something real, that profound change is possible, that we can become so different that our old self is barely recognizable, that sometimes life breaks us open and sometimes someone new emerges. And honestly, in a world that often tells us we're fixed and unchangeable, that's kind of beautiful, whether it's one soul or many. We contain multitudes. We're capable of death and rebirth within a single lifetime. So maybe the real question isn't, are walk-ins real, but who do you want to become? All right, guys. Thanks for joining me and going on this weird, wild journey with me today. I know it was a little out there, just a little bit, but that's what makes this stuff interesting, right? If you have had an experience that felt like a walk-in, or you've known someone who fundamentally changed after a major life event, I would love to hear about it. Please send me a message or shoot me an email. But until next time, stay curious, stay open, and remember, you're allowed to become someone completely new if that's what your soul calls for. I will talk to you guys next time. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow. And remember, keep your energy grounded, your mind open, and your curiosity alive.
Free audio post-production by thought-provoking.